Tonight, sighs of relief. The family of a man who suffered a stroke while vacationing in the U.S. will now have his bills covered by insurance after initially being denied. Also, the family of a woman killed at a Saskatoon nightclub has launched a lawsuit, partially fueled by graphic videos posted to social media. Plus, we meet two young men pursuing their dreams of becoming dog mushers in northern Saskatchewan.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, March 3rd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. A Saskatchewan family that owed $500,000 in medical bills is now breathing a sigh of relief. As we first reported Monday, a man who suffered a stroke while in Arizona was denied insurance because of a prescription change. Now, as Pratush Dayal reports, the insurance company has reversed its decision.
I'm very tired, but we feel like we can breathe again. We have some smiles.
The family of Louis Lamotte was bracing for a huge medical bill. One they just learned was going to be more than $500,000. On February 3rd, the 72-year-old man had a stroke in Yuma, Arizona, and was airlifted to Phoenix. 2 weeks into the stay, the family was shocked to learn Lamotte's insurance company had denied their claim. The reason? A slight dosage change in Louis' cholesterol medication. On Monday, his wife told us she was devastated.
We can't send them big money every month, so they're just going to have to, take what we can afford each month. Then we'll have to pay it off, I guess, until we die.
But now, Saskatchewan Blue Cross has had a change of heart.
Covering the hospital bill, and they're covering his medical flight home. They've offered $500 for extra expenses, which of course were closer to $10,000. They are transporting his truck home, which has the rest of their belongings in it, down in Yuma, Arizona.
Louis' granddaughter Rebecca Fee says the family will be reimbursed for his medical flight back to Saskatchewan. It cost $56,000. Blue Cross declined an interview and says it cannot comment on the specifics of the case due to privacy legislation, but it did confirm that they reached this conclusion. CBC also read a letter Blue Cross sent to the family stating it would accept all emergency medical expenses. The family is surprised but relieved.
We're screaming and hugging and crying. I think they drew a bit of a crowd, so that was great for me to hear that and to hear in her voice today how relieved she is. And it's just amazing. I'm so glad that they reviewed this. They didn't give us a reason why they've changed their minds, but I don't need that reason. I just need to know it's covered.
There's still a lot of paperwork, but the family says the financial fight is almost over. And now they can finally focus their energy on Lamotte's recovery. Pratush Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The family of a woman killed in a Saskatoon nightclub above the Crazy Cactus has launched a $1 million lawsuit. As Dan Zakreski reports, the suit is fueled partly by graphic videos of the woman's death that were uploaded to social media.
Hadan Hashi bled to death on the floor of this nightclub. According to this statement of claim, there's plenty of blame to go around for what happened that night. The 23-year-old from Ottawa had come to Saskatoon to go to school. She was at the after-hours party on a Saturday night when she got into a fight with Paige Thoreau-Fisher. The statement of claim alleges the 22-year-old had assaulted Hashi in the past. The videos uploaded online show the two women grappling and then wrestling on the floor. Moments after hitting the ground, a large pool of blood appears around Hashi's head. She dies minutes later. The claim has multiple allegations. It targets Thoreau-Fisher for allegedly killing Hashi, the Crazy Cactus and Lit nightclub for not providing a safe environment, the club DJ for not calming the crowd, and it targets one of the people who uploaded a video for causing distress to the family. The lawsuit calls it abhorrent, contemptible, flagrant, outrageous, and lacking in decency in an effort to obtain social media notoriety or quasi-fame. The defense lawyer for Thoreau Fisher says her client vehemently denies the assertions set out in the statement of claim, specifically that she assaulted the deceased. The lawyer says they will vigorously defend this ill-conceived legal action and that Thoreau Fisher acted in self-defense. Paige Thoreau Fisher was originally charged with second-degree murder, but police reduced that charge to manslaughter. They made that decision after watching multiple videos of what happened here that night. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The spring sitting of the Saskatchewan legislature begins on Monday, and the countdown begins to the spring budget. Our provincial affairs reporter Adam Hunter joins me now for a look ahead. Adam, the budget will be released March 22nd. What should we expect?
Well, we should expect, maybe for the first time in nearly a decade, a balanced budget from the Saskatchewan Party government. This is ahead of schedule of where they expected to be in 2020. They thought they would be at a balance in 2024-25, and they're ahead of schedule now. We know that the last financial update for this fiscal year, the government was projecting a surplus for the end of the 2023 budget year. So a balanced budget for the first time in 9 years. We know that is possible because of high commodity prices that we saw last year and that are continuing to stay high because of, in part because of the war in Ukraine, high oil prices, high potash prices. And the government's been touting a strong economy, especially when compared to other parts of the country. So we'll see on March 22nd whether it's a balanced budget and just how much of a surplus the government is projecting.
Now, we have an election next fall. We also have a relatively new party on the scene. How will that factor into the legislative sitting?
Yeah, the balanced budget is something that we sometimes see before provincial elections across the country. We're two budgets away now from that provincial election. And one party that's new on the scene is the Saskatchewan United Party, which had their official launch in Saskatoon this week, and a pretty impressive turnout for a brand new party that was just registered last fall. Their leader, Nadine Wilson, is a former Saskatchewan Party MLA and was an independent. And I expect her to be a little more of a presence in the legislature because of what the Saskatchewan United Party is doing. They're sending out mailers. They, of course, had that launch, a new website, and that's something that we haven't really seen a new party make that kind of a splash. Of course, we've seen the Buffalo Party run some candidates in the last election, and the Liberal Party also, but they have less of a profile right now. We always have to keep an eye on the opposition NDP, who, of course, have their leader, Carla Beck, who's just 8 months into her job.
So what do you expect the NDP to focus on?
The NDP's been really touting affordability and healthcare as their two main issues since Carla Beck was named leader last year. Two MLAs are on a tour across the province checking out healthcare facilities. So those are two of the main issues I think the NDP will be focused on heading into the spring sitting. And of course, we should also keep an eye on Coronation Park in Regina, where Mark Docherty of the Saskatchewan Party stepped down. There'll be a by-election there in a few months. That's up to the Premier on when that by-election is called, but it should be within a few months. The NDP will really be trying to retain that seat, a seat they held for more than 20 years before Docherty won it about 10 years ago.
All right, thanks for this, Adam. CBC Political Affairs reporter Adam Hunter in Regina. The spring sitting of the legislature begins on Monday. And as Adam mentioned, the government is under pressure to improve the healthcare system. Part of its plan is to recruit doctors and nurses from overseas. Last November, Saskatchewan's health minister traveled to the Philippines and made job offers to nearly 130 nurses. But, as Karen Pauls reports, poorer countries can suffer when richer countries come recruiting.
Ria Petule sees the shortage of nurses in the Philippines up close, sitting by her husband Rico's hospital bed. There's no one to attend to the patients, she says. Health officials say 40% of all Filipino nurses have left the country or retired.
We'd like to stop the bleeding as soon as we can.
Maria Rosario Vergara says the Philippines has a shortage of more than 350,000 nurses.
Those recruiting our nurses should also give us some form of exchange so that there would be something for our country.
The head of the Philippine Nurses Association says he's especially worried about high-risk pregnancies in rural areas. There's also strain on those nurses left behind, caring for too many patients.
Would be high risk for an error for the patient.
A better life in Manitoba.
Manitoba's Minister of Labour and Immigration is trying to fill nearly 2,000 nursing vacancies.
We want to make sure this batch that comes has a seamless transition so that they can be gainfully employed right away, and that'll benefit Manitobans.
But there are growing concerns in less developed countries that wealthy nations like Canada are exploiting those with fragile healthcare systems.
It's the higher income, richer countries who are going on this global shopping trip. They are taking from shelves which are already very, very bare and can least afford to lose nurses from.
Nurses in the Philippines are also torn between duty to their country and the much larger paychecks and opportunities abroad.
In God's time, so sorry.
Amir Pagadalan is emotional when he talks about being offered a job by the Manitoba delegation. He says it's a gift from God.
Will be enough to support my family po.
The Filipino government wants countries like Canada to do more, like fund nurse training spots or provide scholarships for Filipino students, or train more nurses here at home so they don't have to go elsewhere to poach them. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Regina Symphony Orchestra is on its way to being in serious financial trouble. Since September, some shows have been only at 25% occupancy, some as low as 15%. RSO has had to cancel multiple upcoming shows in order to stabilize its financial situation until next season. That includes an April concert set to showcase a new choir. RSO's music director believes people have changed their entertainment habits, choosing to stay home more.
I would say that if people don't start supporting us, both in terms of attending concerts and also if we don't find other means of support, then we are in dire situation. We are at great risk.
The RSO is not alone. According to Orchestras Canada, recent attendance at many concerts across the country have been at 54% of pre-pandemic levels. However, the Saskatoon Symphony Orchestra tells CBC the ticket sales since September have exceeded expectations, even selling out multiple venues.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, part of the Capital Automotive Group.
Welcome back. Heather Morrison joins us now with a look at your forecast. And Heather, we made it to Friday, and our reward is a pretty nice looking weekend.
I think this is very appropriate to call this a Fry-yay. I even saw my first person in shorts today. Spring is coming. I know it's not here yet, but hang on. I got to tell you what's going to happen into this weekend. Let's start with where we are right now with temperatures around the province. If you take a look at these boards here, we're really doing quite well. We're sort of bang on seasonal for this time of year, and you can see some really mild temperatures. And this is very normal for this time of year. So the problem is that this is not going to be sticking around. So let's take a look at the temperature trend that we're heading into. So Sam, the darker greens is where it warms up. Blues are saying colder weather. So this is us overnight. Obviously, we're just naturally going to cool off overnight. Take a look into tomorrow. We see some green come back, but when I showed you this chart yesterday, almost the whole province was green. So tomorrow, not going to be as warm as we saw today. And as you can see, the north never really got that warm. Stony Rapids up there just sitting in those dark blues. They were seasonal for this time of year, which is around -10, but it's going to be peaking down into that Churchill region as well. And the Churchill region, La Ronge, they're going to get their drop in temperature overnight tonight, and it's going to stick around. That is coming for us on Sunday. But today was a really beautiful day. We had these mild temperatures, we had lots of sunshine, and you may be wondering, my snowbanks seem to be disappearing, but I don't seem to have as much melt or runoff as I would expect. So let's take a look. I have a question for you. Where does that snow go? Well, I looked into it for you. Well, it could have melted. It could have run off into these puddles, but there's something else that snow does, which is that it sublimates. So that's when it doesn't go from a solid to a liquid. It goes from a solid to a gas, and it just disappears up into the atmosphere. And that's why those snowbanks really seem to just be disappearing into thin air. That's literally what they're doing. There's another way to get rid of snow, which is that it's been shoveled, and I don't recommend that way, especially when we're getting so close to the melt. The one thing I do want to let you know about with temperature-wise is that we do have a little bit of a system in the Churchill region that's been bringing some mixed precipitation throughout the day. We have another little system moving through overnight, and then tomorrow, looking fairly clear around the province. We do have a mix of sun and clouds, so it's not going to be completely clear skies, but it's not going to be those little sprinkles of storms that we've been seeing for the past few days. Wind has finally started to die down. It's really been present this week. As you can see, the wind gusts up to 20 kilometers per hour, 33 in Hudson Bay. That's probably because that's where that system is really located right now. That's going to die off a little bit tomorrow. We're going to be about the 15 kilometer per hour mark, which is, I would say, fairly moderate compared to what we've been dealing with. So let's just take a look here at the 3-day, 7-day forecast. So as you can see, Saturday in Regina, Sunday even not too bad, a pretty mild weekend, and then we're going to drop well below 10 degrees below normal for this time of year when we come back to work on Monday. Saskatoon makes a much sharper dive, getting a lot of that Arctic air flowing in on Sunday. So Saturday is going to be nice, but then Sunday is going to be really chilly. So if you've got plans to get outside, please do them on Saturday. And Sam, that's a look at your weather forecast heading into the weekend.
You know what this means? I can wash my car this weekend. It's not all bad.
Don't do it till Sunday.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
You're
Stay with
welcome.
us. We've got more news after the break. Saskatchewan's north is notorious for its harsh winter conditions, but that hasn't stopped two young men from pursuing their dreams to become dog sled mushers. In this video for CBC's Creator Network, Felipe Gomez follows the men as they learn the craft from an expert.
I don't know when the last time dogs actually were used here, and then we're just trying to keep this alive and keep this going for the younger one. As we're moving along, there'll be probably spectators here that'll be able to see us across from the lake here, and then we'll come across again south and then finish at home, and there's our finishing line right there. Don't be shy to ask them questions, talk to them and say, hey, I'm Trevor. This is my first time here.
I feel a little bit nervous to hearing the race is coming, Try to not think of it as a race. It's just us, the three of us, going out for a fun run. My name is Felipe Gomez. I am a new Canadian originally from Chile, and I love exploring Canada with my camera. Today, I am at Ministiquan Lake, Cree Nation in northern Saskatchewan for a unique opportunity to film 3 inspiring mushers. Dr. Kevin Lewis is a land-based educator and a sport enthusiast. Gary Schmidt is one of Saskatchewan's most competitive mushers, lead for his dogs and the rush he gets from the races. There is an exciting energy around rookies. Today is Trevor Kikatoway's first race. All eyes are on him and his dogs. As soon as we got to the starting line, I've never seen all of my dogs that hyped up before. It was awesome. This race is no walk in the park. Mushers must traverse a rugged 30-mile course while carefully monitoring the dog's speed and energy level. Today's deep snow conditions, frozen rain, and limited visibility add an extra layer of complexity to the competition.
What I'm worried about is maybe a trail could look like the actual dog trail itself, and it could be a skidoo trail. So hopefully it doesn't veer off too far.
Right now, Mr. Trevor, all good. We're good. Right on.
An hour into the race, Trevor finds himself in the lead position, while Kevin and Gary trail behind. But problems arise.
I have to get off and hook every dog, hold every dog. It's a lot of work, but we got it done. I was really telling my dogs to, go ahead, straight up, And then after that, my dogs, they were just like, no, we're gonna stay at this pace.
We're 2 hours into the race. visibility is really low right now. All the mushers are trying to stay together to not get lost in the tracks, but there's snowmobiles all taking care of each other. This is what I love about this. It's about community. You can see them. If somebody got a problem, they all stop, they all help each other. It's beautiful to see.
My dogs veered to the right and wanted to follow the Skidoo trail, and then I got onto the actual trail, but I was going counterclockwise where I was supposed to go in clockwise.
As a consequence, Kevin is out of the race, but his mission is bigger than that.
And it's the cultural link is important to me, because Toboggan, Tapagan is what we call it in Cree, and the wolf and Usagi-tsag were the ones that traveled like that all over the world. Those type of story I want to pass on to Garrick and Trevor.
Similar conditions pushed Trevor to leave the race as well.
I felt pretty defeated. I really wanted to stay. I had lots of fun and it was a really good experience out there.
After a heart-pumping 2 hours and 39 minutes, Gary Schmidt is the only one of this group of friends to complete the event. Today's race marks Trevor's initiation into the exciting world of mushing.
Trevor's first race, he did amazing, and he was probably thinking like, okay, this is probably something maybe I can do differently. He's gonna ponder this first race for a long time.
And Heather's back with one last look at your weather.
Hey, Sam. Yeah, so we have a pretty mild night in store. Let's take a look at what it's going to be like in Regina overnight. So -13 with that wind chill, feeling like -19. Chance of flurries overnight tonight. Waking up to a pretty mild day, as I said. It's going to be another mild one tomorrow, and not getting that cool off until Sunday. But here you go, about -9 for our high at about noon. It's going to warm up throughout the day. I think -4 is your high for Regina overall. In Saskatoon, another mild night as well. But I do want to show you, like, we're waking up, we're about 8 degrees colder in the morning when we're waking up, so that the cold air is already starting to move in, and then by noon we'll be sitting about -10. It's going to be -4 as a high overall, which is about 4 degrees cooler than we had today, where we got to 0 as our high. And Sam, that's a look at your weather for the next 24 hours here.
All right, thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
And before we leave you this week, a unique hackathon took place at the University of Saskatchewan today. Around 100 students from 2 Saskatoon high schools learned to remix the music of Indigenous artists using coding techniques. The program's trying to encourage more students to explore computer science. It's doing so by combining coding, music, and reconciliation into one big learning experience.
The hope is that students can open their eyes to what has happened in Canada's history and what are some different experiences for Indigenous people. But in regards to coding, they get hands-on experience with what is coding and how does coding work and what does it mean to code a song, A lot of things that we do in life, we are coding, and so it's nice to kind of tie the two together. So the hope is that they leave here with a deeper understanding and some hands-on experience.
Saskatoon-born Indigenous hip-hop artist and activist Dakota Bear spoke to students too. Bear says his music is a vehicle for him to inspire youth, especially Indigenous youth. A 2020 report estimates less than 2% of Canadians working in science, technology, engineering, and math are Indigenous. That's it for us this week. For news anytime, you can always head to our website or our YouTube channel. Natasha Lipney will be back with more news at 11 tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.